Welcome to the new week and more Bhagavatam studies. So we're following along with Mr. Prthu, the king who was cloned from Vena, probably his right arm, and the body created from the material from Vena's right arm became the body for an expansion of Vishnu. It's Prthu, who is going to be an important king. So now we are up to the part where Prthu has been created and is ready to go. So they're going to coronate him as the king now. So we're picking up here. The priests and spiritualists prepared Prthu's coronation by gathering everything necessary from people in the surrounding countries. This is the idea, is that the citizens contribute to the king. It's just in the same way that the hand contributes food to the mouth. It's the same idea. Everyone offered riches for the ceremony. Even the deer, birds, cows, and divine serpents. Even the earth, sky, seas, rivers, and mountains. So even the animals apparently were, and nature itself was particularly happy to give different kinds of resources that would be required for this coronation ceremony. At the ceremony making him emperor, Prthu was exquisitely dressed and wore the finest ornaments. His wife, Archie, the splendid, indeed appeared like a new form of fire in her brilliant jewelry. The gods themselves presented gifts to bless the emperor. Now, so all the gods are going to be at this coronation, and they're going to give gifts to Prthu so that to help his rule. The god of wealth, Kuvera, gave him a great throne made of gold. The god of waters, Varuna, gave him an umbrella that shone like the moon and emitted a cooling mist. This is not really an umbrella for the rain. It's a parasol. It's a solar umbrella. So the umbrella looks like the moon, and it gives off a moonlight, and it puts out a mist, because the purpose of this umbrella is to cool you down. The god of wind, Vayu, gave him fans. The god of morality, Dharma, gave him a necklace of fame. Indra, the king of paradise, gave him an exquisite crown. Yama, the god of punishment, gave him the enforcer's scepter. Brahma, the original speaker, gave him armor made of words, though that's magic armor. It could be invoked by certain words. Bharti, the goddess of learning, decorated him with perfect pearls. Hari gave him the beautiful Sudarshan discus. Now, the only person that could use the Sudarshan discus is Vishnu. So Hari gave Prthu his discus, but the fact that Prthu could use it shows that Prthu is actually a part of Hari. Hari gave him the beautiful Sudarshan discus, and his wife, the goddess of fortune, gave him inexhaustible opulence. Rudra, the god of destruction, gave him a 10-mooned blade. This is interesting. A sickled blade with 10 sickles. And his wife Ambika gave 100-mooned sheathed. I don't really know exactly what that blade is and the sheath is, but the way it's described here is so interesting. A 10-mooned blade, and Ambika gave him 100-mooned sheath. Thank you, Shiva Mantra. Soma, the god of immortal nectar, gave him ageless horses, and Twashta, the divine architect, gave him a chariot that embodied beauty. Agni, the god of fire, gave him a bow made from the horns of cows and goats. And Surya, the god of the sun, gave him arrows made of light. Bu, goddess of the earth, gave him magical shoes. The heavens themselves constantly offered flowers. The Kechara, the gods in the sky, would teach him the arts of dance, singing, musicianship, and the art of invisibility. The sages blessed him to be truthful. The ocean offered a conch born from her womb. The seas, mountains, and rivers created royal roads. The narrators, bards, and singers came forward. Knowing that they wanted to glorify him, Prthu smiled and spoke to them with a voice as grave as thunder. Behold, narrators! Hey, bards and gentle singers! I have not yet manifested my qualities, so why should you already make me the object of praise? Do not praise me yet, or your words would be baseless. So the singers and, celebrators came forward, eager to glorify Prthu, but Prthu said, you shouldn't praise me yet. I haven't done anything. So they say, but it's obvious that you're going to do great things. So he says, if in the future I do things worth singing about, beautiful singers, then wait for the future and glorify me then. In any case, the truly cultured prefer to sing of the supreme subject of poetry, rather than singing about abominable things. So interesting. Two very important lessons is, don't praise something until it actually delivers, or don't criticize something until it actually fails. And the other lesson is, in any case, don't get so obsessed with praising and criticizing. You should have your mind on some higher topic anyway. So, and it's interesting how he called himself abominable. In any case, the truly cultured prefer to sing of the supreme subject of poetry rather than singing about abominable things. You see people these days who are trying to be powerful, they'll never refer to themselves by a word like abominable because they're worried. People will say, God, he himself says he's abominable. I guess he's abominable. But that's because they are abominable. So if you say you're abominable, then it just points out the truth. When Prthu says he's abominable, it just makes people realize even more that he's not abominable. So the singers say, you're not abominable. Brahma declared you an expansion of the supreme subject of poetry. So Prthu replies, even if I am an expansion of the supreme, I still should not encourage you to praise me. A person who really has good qualities would never encourage admirers to glorify him, for that would destroy his good qualities. And a person who doesn't really have good qualities unwittingly makes a fool of himself by accepting praise. That's why people who are truly powerful and famous hate to hear their own praise. Those who are truly exalted are very modest and feel that even their greatest achievements are seriously flawed and abominable. Thank you, Prthu. Wow, this is really good stuff. And then it just makes you wonder, of course, not only about ourselves, but about all the big-time gurus. The big famous gurus. It just makes you wonder about them. A person who has really good qualities would never encourage admirers to glorify him, for that would destroy his good qualities. And a person who doesn't really have good qualities, so if you do have good qualities and you encourage people to glorify you, you just lost your good qualities. Because to encourage people to glorify you is not a good quality. And also, once people make a big deal about it, then it's going to ruin the quality of your qualities. And then secondly, if you don't have good qualities and you encourage people to praise you, you just actually are making a fool out of yourself. It's like a mockery. That's why people who are truly powerful and famous hate to hear their own praise. Those who are truly exalted are very modest and feel that even their greatest achievements are seriously flawed. My dear narrators and singers, I'm very sorry. I have not yet shown any greatness in this world. So how can I be so childish as to ask you to describe my deeds? Next, this is actually the next chapter, but it's basically the same topic. So now, the singers and sages were delighted to hear the king's nectarian words. The sages ordered the singers to sing. The singers were happy to see this confirmation that Prthu is really a great person by how he's reacting to the proposition of praise. And then the sages order it. So Prthu is saying, don't praise me. The sages say, we order you to praise him. First, the singers explained, we cannot sing about your glory, for you are an avatar of the supreme divinity. Born from the arms of Vena, your heroism is beyond the comprehension of orators. Nonetheless, we will carefully sing nectarian descriptions of the magnanimous glory of Prthu, the avatar of Hari's expansion. We will try to elaborate on your praiseworthy deeds as we learned about them from the scholars who ordered us to sing. Now, this is very interesting. I think what you're going to see in here is that the sages know the future of what Prthu is going to do. And they've already told the singers what Prthu is going to do. And the singers are going to sing about his future. Let's see what they actually say. The king upholds, here's what they say. The king upholds the best Dharma and shows the world how to follow Dharma. He's the guardian of Dharma's rules and the regulator of those who transgress them. This king's single form, therefore, upholds the forms of all those who protect the world. By giving everyone their rightful share at the proper time, he is the benefactor of the leaders and the led. He receives the riches of some by taxation and distributes it appropriately at the right time. His mighty welfare is equal to everyone. As a powerful sun shines everywhere. So this just is, unfortunately, there's so much politics in the air right now that it's kind of impossible to even sleep. But this brings up the topic of capitalism versus socialism. And how ironic it is that Christians, like really fundamentalists or hardcore Christians, really embrace the Republican Party. I'm talking about, like those fundamentalists, the creationists, and the anti-abortion and type Christian people. Because capitalism, which is, and how they're so anti-socialist, capitalism is the antithesis of religion. Capitalism is the antithesis of Christianity. You'll never find in the gospel Jesus Christ saying, survival of the fittest. Do it yourself or die. You don't find, you find Jesus Christ say, take care of the poor people. It's just that this is, and it's not just Jesus Christ or Christianity, this is a fundamental Dharma, it's fundamental religion. And see what the king is doing is taking taxes from the rich and giving money to the poor. That's socialism. That means that everybody in society takes care of the rest of society. Not that the person who's the strongest and can make the most money keeps making the most money at the expense of the other people who they are actually exploiting. So you don't find Prthu's kingdom embraces capitalism. Capitalism is a subcomponent of the economics, which is only within the Vaishya community there's capitalism. But in the Vaishyas are a subcomponent of the whole society, which is socialist. The kings are socialists. So it's so confusing how so-called religious people can be anti-socialism. So he receives the riches of some by taxation. Capitalism, where it's not just for the increasing of wealth of companies. Capitalism means money. Capital means money. Socialism means society, and communism is an extreme socialism. It's communal, community. Capitalism means the person who has the most money has the most money. Let them make more. If you have money, do something with it. That's what capitalism is about. It was invented as a way to combat kind of feudalism or casteism, European casteism, which was you're not allowed to have money if you're not of a royal blood or something. Their idea in the founding of the American country was let people make whatever money they can make. And you make whatever money you make and you use that money to make more money. So that's capitalism. It doesn't benefit anybody except the person who's making the money. In fact, they make the money at the expense of you and me by making us think that we need the things that they sell. We don't even actually need the things that they sell. We don't need cell phones. We don't need laptops. We don't need cars. We don't need those things to survive and be happy. But try living without them now, you go nuts. Because the culture has put into your mind, deep into your mind, that you need these things. They're advertising. So capitalism is exploitation for the sake of the capitalist. The person who's got more money will continue to get more and more and more money. That's not taking care of anybody except themselves. If the person who becomes rich donates money, like say they start a anti-cancer foundation or whatever, and they donate money to that, that's not capitalism. That's socialism. The person is giving money to society is socialism. Socialism in the real world doesn't mean dictatorship at all. Is England a dictatorship? Is Sweden a dictatorship? It doesn't mean dictatorship. Socialism doesn't mean dictatorship. I don't know where you get that idea from. Dictatorship is a type of government, not a type of economic system. Economics and government are different things. You can have socialist dictatorship. You can have a capitalist dictatorship. You could have any combination of things. You could have a socialist monarchy. You could have a capitalist monarchy. So here, you find the ideal government is where the king is the one who takes taxes and distributes the taxes. The king doesn't take the taxes and keep them. The king takes the taxes and uses them to help the whole of society. His mighty welfare is equal to everyone, as the powerful sun shines everywhere. Yes, they are, Mariana. See, what do you even think of socialism? Socialism is English system. Japanese system is a capitalistic socialism. Sweden, they all are. Maybe you're thinking of North Korea, communism, dictatorship communism. So anyway, I don't want to give you a lesson on modern politics. Let's just go see what Prthu is doing again. Prthu is patient with the disorderly and tries to uplift even them. He's always compassionate to everyone and supports the needy like the earth supports all creatures. He supports the needy like the earth supports all creatures. In capitalism, you eat the needy. Capitalism actually is very similar to Darwinism. The strongest survive. But it's funny that people that are so anti-Darwin are pro-capitalism. I can only read you the Bhagavatam, and I can only tell you that the ideal society as described in the Vedas is not capitalism. And you can believe or disbelieve or whatever. It's not my problem. So he is patient with the disorderly and tries to uplift even them. He is always compassionate to everyone and supports the needy like the earth supports all creatures. I'm reading you the Bhagavatam right now. Hear what it's describing. He is patient with the disorderly and tries to uplift even them. He is always compassionate to everyone. He supports the needy like the earth supports all creatures. When the gods withhold blessings, so here's now a prediction. When the gods withhold blessings, that god, Hari, in the form of the king, god of men, immediately protects the citizens from danger and death as if he were Indra himself. Everyone sees his generous face as the epitome of nectar. He looks upon everyone with affection, smiling broadly and beautifully. His paths are not visible. His plans are kept confidential. His intentions are profound. His wealth is not fully demonstrated. He conceals his stature as the font of unlimitedly glorious qualities, as Prthu Varuna conceals himself within the seas. Calamity cannot approach him. From afar he curbs and regulates them. No one can conquer him, the flame born from the wood of Vena. He sees both the outer and inner nature of everyone's deeds and plans, just like the all-witnessing, impartial soul of all bodies. This king does not stray from the moral path. He does not punish the innocent, even if they are his enemy's children. And he punishes the guilty, even if they are his own children. See, I'm so tired of people. I'm just so tired of people. I want to live in a universe where there's no people. Tired of everybody. Okay, here we go. So this is an interesting point. He does not stray from the moral path. He does not punish the innocent, even if they're his enemy's children. And he does punish the guilty, even if they're his own children. His wheel of jurisdiction will span to the borders of the known world, like the divine sun whose brilliance shines everywhere. Thank you, and everybody. His behavior will delight the citizens of the world, thus they will be delighted to call him king. Now here's an interesting footnote. You guys probably know the Sanskrit word for king, Raja. The etymology of the word Raja is very interesting. Raja means the most brilliant. And so Raja, like Rashi, it's the same root word. It means brightness, shine. So Rashi is a part of the sun's shine. That's a part of the sun's orbit, is a Rashi. Raja is the person who can shine. They're the most brilliant person. And also it means Ranjaya, which means delight. So the people are delighted to accept as their king the person who makes the world a beautiful, peaceful, honest place. That's what the word Raj implies. The Sanskrit word for Raj implies a person that's power and delight. By their power, just like the sun, by its power, it's raw power, it's explosive power, but by its power, it's causing flowers to bloom and light and everything and food to grow. So the king, by his raw power, he makes the world a safe place, a nice place. So by the Raj, he makes a Ranj, which means pleasure or happiness. So that's why he's called a Raja. So here, his behavior delights the citizens of the world, and thus they will be delighted to call him king. He considers himself the determined servant of philosophers and elders. He considers himself the servant. It's so important. the king doesn't consider himself the leader. Not in the sense that he won't make decisions or won't lead people, but he doesn't consider himself the beneficiary of the state. Beneficiary, is that the right word? The beneficient of the state. He's the beneficiary of the state. He considers himself I like people too, but I'm sick of people right now. It's just too many of these people that don't respect reality, and it's just driving me nuts. So his behavior will delight the citizens of the world. He considers himself the determined servant of philosophers and elders, of solemn vows and of simple promises. He will respectfully protect all creatures, for he is fatherly towards the poor. That's your basic religious tenet? That's your basic Christian moral. Protect the poor, take care of the poor. He that oppress reproach his maker, but he who honor him have mercy on the poor. That's Christianity. Take care of poor people. But of course, the Christians don't want the government to do it. They want the churches to do it. So that you have to go to their church to get benefited. He will treat his wife as if she were half of his own self. And he will treat all other women with the same devotion that he shows his mother. This is the ideal king, and the ideal king really is an ideal man. The man is the leader, all right? Let's just be serious. The man is the one who takes the first step, leads the dance, initiates, makes the decision, blah, 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 strong, etc., right? The king is the symbol of the man. The ideal man is being described here. He treats his wife as if she was half of his own self. And how does he treat all the other women? With as much respect as he shows, and with the same devotion that he shows his mother. He will behave like an affectionate father towards his people. So he treats women like they're his mother. He treats his wife like she's himself. He treats women like they're his mother. He treats people in general like they're his kids, that he has to take care of them. And like a humble servant towards those who comprehend spirituality. He considers himself a servant. He will behave like an affection. Oh, sorry, I already read that. He treats all creatures with the same love he would show himself, nourishing their happiness and considering them dear. He will seek the company of those who are liberated from partialities and attachments, and his hands will punish the evil. He is the all-attractive himself, a portion of the Master of Threes, the original origin and soul of all descended into our world. By seeing him, the wise can see and understand that everything besides him is a dalliance of ignorance without real worth. This king is a master of gods among men. Kings are called Naresh, which means God-men. Doing nothing but protecting the earthly realm to the borders of the Sunrise Mountain. This is an interesting concept of the earthly realm, that there's mountains bordering on the east, beyond which the sun rises. So basically they're saying that he's going to rule everything you can see. Like the sun roaming southward and northward, he encircles the world in his golden, glorious chariot holding a bow. You know how the sun moves southward and northward, right? Southern solstice, northern solstice. So just as the sun is constantly roaming north to south, the king is not just sitting in one spot and letting some distant place go to hell. Or not just during the election runoffs or whatever, where you have to go and beg people for your votes. That's when you go to Iowa or whatever. The king is constantly going to Iowa, going to Kentucky, going to Florida, going around, make sure all the places are cool. As he travels, the protectors of humanity and the protectors of the world offer him valuable gifts. Their women glorify him as the original king, for they see him carrying Vishnu's trademark discus. Yeah, it is, Melissa. The women will say, now this is cool, they're foreshadowing how the women would praise him. The praise of women is very important. As you can see here by the fact that they're highlighting what women will say about him, and you'll find this repeatedly, little statements here and there. Women praise him, or blah blah blah. Women praise him. He's the thing that women talk about. It's very important what women praise, because women have high values, and women aren't, what do you call it, Machiavellian. They're not conquest oriented. They're not Mars dominated. They're Venus dominated. So if a woman praises something, it's considered more praiseworthy than if a man praises something, which is probably from some selfish reason. So here's what the women said. Acting as the father of his citizens, this original king will cause their prosperity by milking the wealth of the earth with his... by milking the wealth of the earth. So there's some foretelling here of what Prthu is going to do. Acting as the father of his citizens, the women are very happy when there's a good father. So they see the king as a father. Acting as the father of his citizens, he's taking care of the kids. He's going to make them prosperous by milking the wealth of the earth. With his arrows, he will cleave and level the mountains like Indra to create smooth trade routes. This is more foreshadowing of what he's going to actually do. Really interesting historical information here of some time that you can't really pinpoint. At some point in the Earth's history, it was much more jagged and mountainous, and there weren't roads connecting towns and things. But Prthu leveled things off so that you could build roads. And by having the roads, then the trade between towns and everything improved. The sound of his goat and bull horn bow is indisputably powerful. Hearing it, the wicked everywhere flee into hiding. Wherever he roams, like a lion with his tail raised. That's some cool Rastafari right there. At the front of River Saraswati, he will execute 100 horse sacrifices. But during the 100th, Indra will steal the horse. This king will meet Blessed Sanat Kumara in one of his private gardens and obtain knowledge from him about pure loving devotion, granting realization of the supreme spiritual reality. That's what they said. So they actually, all the foreshadowing of what he would do was voiced through the women. So a couple of things were said. Number one, he's going to milk the earth to bring wealth to the citizens. Number two, what's number two? He's going to create roads. He's going to level the earth to create roads. And not just roads, actually. There's another thing that happens by leveling the earth that's important, but I'll save it for later. This is going to improve the economics. And number three, he does so many royal sacrifices that Indra gets jealous and interferes with the 100th one. And number four, he's going to meet some master of spirituality, Sanat Kumar, and have this amazing conversation with him. So we're going to hear about all four of these things. Prthu, the most powerful man on earth, will hear many such glorifications of his glorious deeds from many people in many ways. His circle of influence will expand unchecked, conquering all directions. He will use his power to destroy the world's miseries. The kings of gods and demons alike will glorify him, and he will be the mightiest lord on earth. That's it. That's what they said. And then now it says, the blessed son of Vena was satisfied with their glorification of his qualities and deeds and returned their respectful praise by glorifying their songs and giving them gifts. He then showed similar respect to everyone, to the leaders of the philosophers, warriors, farmers, and laborers, to his servants, ministers, and priests, to citizens of town and country, down to the simple merchants and employees. What a guy. So after receiving all this immense glorification, he wanted to reciprocate by glorifying everybody else. So he started giving gifts and respect to the singers, and then to apparently each one of the sections of society, the Brahmanas, Vaishyas, Kshatriyas, and Shudras, have their representatives. So he glorified each one of the representatives, the leaders of the philosophers, the leaders of the warriors, the leaders of the farmers, the leaders of the laborers. Then to the servants, the ministers, the priests, then to the citizens of the town, the citizens of the country, down to the simplest merchants and employees. Cool, so now Vidura is going to have questions. He's going to say, you said he milked the earth? Huh? I want to hear about that. He's going to want to know about all those 4 things that the women said he would do. Milk the earth? What's that? Make road? Flatten the earth? What's that? Tell me more about that. Indra stealing a horse from the ceremony? Why? Tell me about that. And, of course, tell me about the conversation that he has with Sanat Kumar. So Vidura is going to ask about those 4 things, and then the rest of the tale about Prthu is going to be Maitreya elaborating on those 4 incidents. All right, guys. Yeah, here, I'll just read you the questions. You mentioned that Prthu would milk the earth, Vidura asked Maitreya. The earth has so many forms. Why would she choose to appear to Prthu as a cow? And what kind of milk did she give? And who was the calf? And what did Prthu use as a milking pot? Those are his questions. Then, thank you, Mariana. And then you mentioned that Prthu would level the mountains to create smooth roads. The very nature of the earth is to become mountainous, so how did Prthu manage to level her? You said that Indra stole the horse meant for Prithu's 100th and final horse sacrifice. Why? Why did Indra do that? You mentioned that Prthu gained transcendental knowledge from the blessed Sanat Kumar, the greatest knower of spirituality. What knowledge did the philosopher king gain, and how did he realize it, and what result did he achieve? I'm very eager to hear all these wonderful things and more, because Prthu is a previous birth of my Prabhu, all-attractive Krishna. So please tell me about the transcendent Krishna who took the form of Vena's son and milked the earth. I will listen attentively and with devotion. Very inspired by Vidura's questions, Maitreya was delighted to answer them by narrating this tale of Vasudev's son. So we'll start that tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.